KERR9000'S game room.
Hi, it's KERR9000 and welcome to my 168th SNES review. Today I am reviewing the game Street Racer. Now, Street Racer is a kart racing video game which was programmed by a studio called Vivid and published by Ubisoft. The Super Nintendo version, which is the one I'm reviewing here, was first released back in 1994, but it would soon find its way onto the Mega Drive, followed by the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, the Game Boy, the PC and the Amiga over the following years. The game that this game can be most easily compared to would of course be Super Mario Kart, with both being cartoon go-kart themed racers. Mario Kart was pretty much single-handedly responsible for the creation of the console kart racer genre. So it's pretty much always going to be almost impossible to talk about this kind of game without comparing it to the granddaddy of them all, Mario Kart. Well, Mario Kart came out in 1992 and was pretty much an overnight success. So it's no wonder that the following years would be littered with countless challenges to Mario Kart's throne. So you've got cartoon graphics, lots of different characters, lots of different tracks. They're all things that these games have in common, while the main difference between this and Super Mario Kart is that the game has no projectiles. Beyond that, this game can also be played with up to 4 players at once, whereas Mario Kart only allows for 1 or 2 players at once. Now, the lack of projectiles is not actually a problem though, as this game kind of works well with its far more physical attack style, where you can punch out to the left or right, or use attacks which hit both directions at once. While I'm talking about the gameplay, let's go a little deeper into it. The game is simple to control, one button to accelerate, one button to brake, and I find it very easy to play. I played it with a pad to test the game out for this review, but in order to make recording footage easier, I actually played it via an emulator using the keyboard, and even in this way I managed to still finish the race in a decent position. More importantly than how easy it is to pick the game up and play is how fun it is, and to be honest, I think it's a pretty fun game. Sure, I'd sooner put on Mario Kart, because Mario Kart's handling feels more refined and there's a bit more flavour to the backdrops and the variety in the action, but Street Racer is still a darn good slice of fun, and it does try to do things a little bit differently instead of just cloning the original kart racing template. Street Racer includes 2 bonus modes. One is a rumble, where the aim is to knock your opponents out of an arena, and there's a soccer mode which sees all 8 racers fighting for the ball in an attempt to score into the same goal, which is guarded by a moving horizontal bar. I don't find either of these 2 modes to be that great, but they're welcome as a little bonus to play around with. As I've said, the game allows for 4 players, which is cool, but it's also got this thing where you can make a custom championship. You pick your own tracks, and that's a neat little bit of fun. Also, head-to-head racing with a CPU driver is also an option, along with practice racers. Now, a really interesting thing to me is that when you're racing in the championship mode, points are not only awarded for where you place, no, in fact, extra points can also be earned for being the most aggressive driver, or collecting the most stars, or lapping opponents, which I think is a really interesting touch, which provides you with a few extra ways to gain points during your races. So, Vivid certainly tried to offer a fair degree of fresh ideas, even if they weren't all greatly implemented. About the graphics, well, I really like the game's cartoony graphical style, and I happen to really like the characters in this game. They're fun, they're varied, my personal favourite being Frankie, the Frankenstein's monster-based driver. Yeah, some of them are a bit stereotype-based, but no worse than, say, for example, Street Fighter 2. Okay, I can't really touch on the game's graphics without also talking about the game's sounds. I think the game has some pretty good cartoon-style tunes in it, but I think the problem is that the sounds mix kind of wrong. The engine noises are too loud and drawn out and hurt otherwise what would be a pretty good gaming soundtrack, which is a real shame. Okay, so I guess it's time to start coming to some kind of conclusion. But first, it's important to note though that Vivid managed to program a kart racing game which, although not as good as Mario Kart, did manage a few things that Mario Kart did not, including full screen single player. In Mario Kart, only half the screen is used for your play area, with the other half being the map, and a 4-player split screen mode is also something this game managed. Which, the 4-player mode actually managed to work very, very well with little slowdown, even if I'm not incredibly keen on the small viewing window. But the greatest thing is that they managed to have these modes and have them work so well without any additional chips being on the cart, which kept costs low. You see, Mario Kart had a digital signal processor chip on its board, which would help provide fast vector-based calculations, bitmap conversions, and 2D and 3D coordinate transformations and other functions. But it put the price for production of each copy of the game up. And I just think it's impressive that Vivid managed to do what they managed to do without any additional specialist chips. Unfortunately, which is a shame, I don't think that this game performed well commercially on any of the systems it was released on. And while I don't think Street Racer was a world changer or anything, I think it's a nice 7 out of 10 video game. Fun but forgettable. The real shame is that although the game was released again and again for platform after platform, it never got an actual proper sequel. Which I think there's a really good core idea here, which with more polishing could have gone on to produce something really special. I mean, look at Street Fighter 2. The first one compared to the second one, boom. And I think this could have had a sequel which had really built upon all the strengths of this one and chipped away at the weaknesses, but you know, we'll never know. As it stands though, it's definitely a game worth trying for yourself, especially as in the UK at least, it's not a particularly expensive game to get a hold of, with copies regularly being on eBay for around the £10 mark. And if you're really lucky and you pop into CEXs, sometimes you can find a cart for only £3. I mean, what can you get nowadays for £3? Not very much at all. Anyway, if you've watched this video to the end, thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll join me for not only my next SNES review, but all the other cool videos I do. I review lots of games and also show bits of my collection and all sorts. Anyway, latest taters. Hi, it's KERR9000'S. I'd just like to say thank you for making it to the end of my video. I've got lots of stuff on my channel, my horror house doing horror reviews, my game room where I talk about video games, sci-fi station, my diet corner videos, all kinds of stuff. I can also be found on the Retro Gamer U forum and the J Arcade forum, which are both great places full of great people and some great video game conversations. At the end of this video there'll be a little icon to tick if you want to subscribe, a link to a video and a link to one of my playlists. I'd also like to recommend the wonderful talented Just Jessica 1988 on TikTok, who does a lot of diet videos and is my supportive partner. Thank you once again for watching my video, and particularly if you follow me, thank you for all of your support. Have a great rest of your day. Laters, taters.